Hello.
Super good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me properly? Jeff, can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can.
Oh, super good morning, everyone. Warmest greeting from FitMax team. Everybody, welcome to a second AMA sessions of FitMax being live streamed on StreamYard right now. I am Josephine, and I'm the representative of FitMax team, and also be the host of you guys today. As previously mentioned, we will hold an AMA session with the participant of Mr. Jeff Brewers. He is the exclusive fitness experts consultant of FitMax project, and he is the one who will directly design exercises on the FitMax app. Throughout the AMA today, I hope that you guys will have a chance to gain useful knowledges on sport practices. Um, we will regularly hold AMA session with FitMax experts to support all community in the process of using FitMax to enhance your fitness scientifically. So first of all, maybe we will yield the stage to Mr. Jeff. Hi Jeff, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Cool, I'm very well, thank you. And um, can you briefly introduce yourself to the community to know?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Jeff. Hey, everyone. I'm 31 years old and I'm from Canada, but now I live in Hanoi, Vietnam for about 8 years, 8.5 years, and I've been in the fitness industry for around 7 years now. So, yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Jeff. And as mentioned, you are the exclusive fitness expert consultant. So it's definitely that you would have a very strong background in fitness. Could you please
Mhm.
give us more information about your experience in this field?
Sure. So, around 2015 or so, I started training calisthenics, which is like a body weight style of training. And I did that for around 4 years before I got a kind of a bad injury and I had to take about 6 months off to recover. And then, but I used that time because I knew I wanted to become a fitness trainer. And so I used that time to study, and I worked with a company called ISSA to get certified as a personal trainer. And then when I came back, I started doing more weight training instead of just body weight training, and just to expand my knowledge and my skill set. And then yeah, here I am now. I've started working as a personal trainer, and then contributing as much as I can to the fitness industry.
Well, that is a way to go because you go from a person who exercise yourself and then you got injury and then you learn from that and continuously improving yourself to where you are today. That's very impressive. That
Thanks.
is quite a process to go. Okay, very nice.
Hmm.
Not to keep you guys waiting any longer, we will move to the main part of the AMA session today, which is to share the knowledge about working out as well as answering questions from the community. As all of you might know that due to the COVID pandemic happened globally, working out at home has become a trend. an unavoidable trend. Uh, from the point, from your point of view as a fitness expert, could you briefly tell us about the benefit and also drawback of doing exercise at home?
Sure. So obviously the benefits of working out at home could be, I mean, because during COVID you could not go outside, so you kind of were stuck working out at home. But outside of that, if you want to keep training at home, there's a lot of good reasons to do that. Like I did it for about 4 years, so obviously it can be pretty effective. And some of the better reasons for that could be because it's convenient and you don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to get yourself to the gym. And speaking of the gym, you don't have to pay for the gym, so it's quite cheap compared to going to the gym and working out there. And I think one of the nice reasons for working out at home is that it's really private. And some people might have some like body conscious issues about going to the gym, and that's pretty normal. A lot of people experience that. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons that I started out training at home, right? So,
And how about
um,
the drawback?
the drawbacks. Okay. One of the drawbacks that I experienced a lot personally was that it's quite easy to be distracted. Like, for example, I would kind of just turn on the TV or something, or start watching some YouTube videos while I was training just during the break time, and then realize that I rested for like way too long. So some of my training sessions just took a really long time, or I would just stop training for the day because I would be like, oh, I can just do it tomorrow. So that can be a downside to training at home. And a few of the other downsides might be that it's hard to progressive overload. So when you're training, you want to make sure that your training is getting harder and harder. Whereas if you're training at home, it can be a little bit difficult to moderate how intense your training session is. So at the gym, you just have to like add a little bit more weight or do one more rep or two more reps. But when you're training at home, you pretty much only can, if you're not using any equipment, all you can really do is add more reps or try to change the exercise a little bit to make it harder. Um, and another problem with training at home is that you cannot train the whole body unless you have some equipment. Like, for example, you can't really train your back if you don't have any equipment. You can train your back, but it's just not very effective.
Okay, so you mean that the drawback for training at home is a lot of confusion, a lot of distractions, and procrastinations.
Hmm.
Also, there are difficulty in monitoring how you do the exercises, as well as um, the deficiency in the equipment in order to train your whole body. That's what you meant.
Yeah, exactly. You might not get a good training session for your back if you don't have like a pull-up bar or some dumbbells or something.
Okay, I understand that.
Mm.
And how about training like outside compared to doing exercising at home? What is your opinions about going to the gym or exercising outside, like for example at a park?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's pretty much all of the same things as training at home, except it's a little bit more public. So you don't get the benefit of privacy. And another thing is that the weather could be a problem if you want to train outdoors. Like if it's too hot or rainy, snowing, too cold, then you might not really feel like motivated to go out. So I think the biggest problem is that it's like a public place, but that can also be a benefit because a lot of the bodyweight training community that trains outdoors, they're quite good, like pretty friendly, and they might be able to help you. So No pain, no gain.
Does it have anything to do with like showing up your body? Because I know that a lot of people like attention, so they have the tendencies to do better when they get attentions and in public. That
People
does
like
that
the attention.
happen?
If you like showing off, then training outdoors or in public is good. Yeah.
Okay, that could be a way to go.
Hmm.
So in your opinion, which who will be suitable for doing exercise at home, and who is the one that will be more suitable for doing exercise at the gym or outdoor, and the reason for that?
Okay. Well, you've got to think about just like the pros and cons, and who's going to be benefiting from those pros and cons of training at home. So the people who are going to benefit from training at home a lot are going to be especially the people who are more self-conscious about going to the gym, and it's going to be the people who have budget restrictions. Like if you can't afford in your budget to pay for a gym membership, then training at home is like absolutely perfect. And for training outside, it's pretty much the same people, but it's more about if you like prefer a social environment, and it also has equipment out there. Like if you go to a park or something, you'll usually have a place to do pull-ups. So there's that as well. And yeah, so that about covers it. And calisthenics athletes as well. Actually, people who train like the body weight style as sort of their like permanent training style, then they're gonna benefit from that a lot too, obviously. Oh, and beginners are gonna enjoy training at home as well because they don't need the heavy weights or anything at the gym. So if you just want to get into training and start building good habits, then training at home is perfect for you.
Well, don't you think that it is better for beginners to do it at the gym because they won't have like professional advice and guidance from PT? No.
I mean, having that professional advice and guidance is good and all, but like I said, it can be a bit pricey. And if you're on a budget, then just doing it at home is perfectly fine. And you can find a lot of resources online for how to do everything properly. And like if you're filming yourself and being honest with yourself, then you can find good ways to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, and just listen to your body too.
Okay, cool. It's gonna be pricey to enhance your fitness anyway, either financially or time. And like you said, even if you're training at home, you need to be honest with yourself, uh,
Hmm.
and listening to your body. That is a kind of a price that you have to pay anyways. But anyways, like you just said, no pain, no gain. Talking about the weather, earlier you say that weather could be a factors that heavily affected the training sessions. In some
Hmm.
country right now, there is about to turn winter. Like for example, like here when you are leaving Vietnam, so I'm pretty
Yep.
sure it's turning winter there, more or less, and it's gonna be cold, and that
Hmm.
might be a reason to prevent people from working out outside, because it's cold and it's easy for people to get sick or catch a
Hmm.
cold. So, what advice do you have for people who do sport in the winter to keep them motivated and keep on working out, but also help them to protect their health in the severe weather condition?
Okay, so, well, first of all, like training and regular exercise can help you actually prevent you from getting sick. So it's definitely good to not skip out on that just because it's too cold or something. And yeah, not like if you quit training, then you might have an increased risk of illness. Um, that being said, if you don't like to go out in the cold, then you can always train at home more, switch your training regimen so that you don't have to go outside, because that trip to the gym can be a bit annoying for some people. That being said, there are benefits to training in the cold as well. We see like a lot of people, I forget his name. I think it's Iceman. He goes by Iceman, and he does a lot of cold therapy type things. And just from a logical point of view as well, training in the cold can be quite good for you because training heats up your body a lot, and training in a cool room can kind of reduce the heat stress on your body. It's like if you're training in the cold, you're going to sweat less, right? And that's kind of a good thing, not having to strain your body, just trying to regulate your temperature.
Well, and it's also help you to burn more calorie, because your body have to work in order to keep your body temperatures maintained, and
Sure, yeah.
that means that you have a chance to burn more calories in the same period of time. No.
Sure, the shivering response in your body is something that will burn quite a bit of calories.
Okay, cool. But anyways, do you have any advice for people who are working who are working out outside in the winter? Like, I mean, how to keep warm?
How
I
to
know.
how to
I
keep
mean, would just need to wear a trainer coat or something like that. But is there any others more useful advice rather than just putting on more clothes?
keep moving, I guess. I don't know if you played sports as a kid, but my coach always like I played baseball in the summer, and I would play soccer in the winter. And my coach in the winter, because it was really, really cold during the soccer season in the winter. So our coach was always just like, just keep moving. And I would complain to him. I'd come up crying. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so cold. Please, can I go home? And my coach was like, no, you got to keep moving because otherwise you're going to get cold if you stop. So that's one, just keep moving.
Well, that is very practical. And speaking about experience, sort of advice. No, yeah, keep moving. Okay. Um, there is another issue raised that there are people who feel extremely sore for the first time when they started to pick up working out. Uh, is it an unusual things, and what should be done to reduce the pain? Well, I personally think that it is not unusual thing because it is not only for working out, but when you suddenly have more labor work to do, then your body feel sore in the end of the day as well. So, but I mean, I'm no expert on fitness, so I have to ask for your opinion. That is it something unusual to happen?
After training, so it's not.
Yeah, after training for the first time, some people just take up working out, and then
Mhm.
they feel extremely sore in the body, in the muscle after the training session.
Okay, so yeah, it's not unusual. Muscle soreness after training is actually like a phenomenon called DOMS or DOMS, which stands for delayed onset muscle soreness, and is super normal, especially after you train really intensely, or if you haven't trained in a long time or ever, then you're more likely to experience more severe DOMS. So the you don't want to be too sore. if it hinders your activity, like during work or something, and the way that you can sort of inhibit or limit the amount of soreness that your body experiences is going to be, so if you're a beginner trainee and you're not really used to exercising so much, then you want to make sure you take your first couple of weeks training kind of lower intensity and just ease into it. I know a lot of personal trainers, they really they want to kind of show off, and they'll make you work super hard, and then the next day you're going to feel like super super sore, and maybe even the next whole week you're going to feel sore. And I just don't agree with that type of training. So I think that if you just begin, then you should start slow so you can limit the amount of muscle soreness you have to feel. And even if you're training for a long, long time, you're going to feel that muscle soreness. So there's ways to kind of make yourself feel better, which is going to be stretching after a session could help. I don't think there's actually too much scientific evidence that shows that stretching helps, but some people report that it does. Other things you can do are like using ice to on the sore places. So like especially in your lower back, putting ice on your lower back after a training session can, for around 20 minutes, can help to reduce the soreness that you might have in your lower back. What else could you do? There's a whole load of things that you can do to help aid your recovery. Like for example, a pretty common thing these days is ice baths. So you dip your whole body into a tub of water and ice, and you stay there for a few minutes. I'm not really sure. I haven't tried it, but a lot of famous people are doing it, and they say it's quite. They seem to report that it's quite effective. So
Yeah, I heard about those things before as well. For football player, famous
yeah,
football player,
football players
they have
especially.
ice bath.
Yeah, athletes.
Okay, so as a person who exercise, I guess that there are different factors that drive you along the way, being your motivations that keeping
Mm-hmm.
you working on. Uh, for some people, that might be the scenario of having a sculptures like a curve or a tones up uh, body or their constant fitnesses. However, do you think that using financial rewards, for example, in terms of tokens or coin to promote the motivation to continue working out is a good way?
Sure, yeah. I mean, we use a like reward system to help us. What's the word that I'm looking for? We use rewards all the time, right? In our daily life. When we do something good, we reward ourselves, and then it means that we're going to do that again, right? For example, with work, you go to work and you do a good job, you come home, and I don't know, usually you reward yourself with food or something, right? Some people like to do that, and it's going to like give you that positive reinforcement to keep going. And there's a lot of rewards that we kind of like with training. One of the rewards might be an improvement in your physique, right? And but that takes a long time to start to show. So if you have some sort of reward that you can give yourself in the short term, so if these like coins or tokens are a way that helps you to reward yourself and you get a good feeling from it, then it's absolutely beneficial.
Well, I mean, for the thing you say, like uh, a beautiful body is something that has to come with time. It's not instantly, but uh, coin and tokens, it could come in in a shorter period of time. So as a personal trainer you are, what is your biggest motivation while working out?
My biggest motivation? Well, that's a good question. I mean, after a while, I think so. Maybe more beneficial to talk about my first motivation, which was there was this guy on YouTube named Dominic Sky, and he was the one who kind of inspired me to start bodyweight training because I saw him do some like really cool feats of strength, and I was like, wow, that looks amazing, and so that's what inspired me and motivated me to begin with. But after a while, it just becomes more of a discipline thing, right? Because we can't be motivated all the time. But if we have the discipline and we make sure that we do it every day, even if we don't want to, then that's more beneficial in the long term, right? And making it into a habit is one of the ways that you can improve your discipline, right? So nowadays for me, it's more like a habit. It's like, oh, it's Saturday. It's time to go to the gym, right? Like,
Well, I mean, that's for you. You have become like a professional, but from your point of view, if the reward is in, let's say, financially related, like with coin or tokens, do you think that it can encourage people to uh, take up working out or keep on moving along the exercising way? Do you think?
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of those instant rewards that can be very beneficial to people who are responsive to that kind of thing, right? Just like a food reward or what's the word, praise, right? When someone says like, oh, you look good, that's another kind of reward. Or like, oh, good job, from someone that's important to you, then that's it could be that the same benefit as that, right?
Well, it could be. There, like I said from the beginning, there's many factors that drive you along the way. But yeah, um, appreciate your input. Uh, we are living in a very busy life right now, and not so many people have time and also, well, let's say resources to invest on working out. Do you think that um, by creating an app that only take you about 10 to 30 minutes, and you can basically work out anytime and anywhere, to complete a workout sessions, do you think that just spending that little amount of time exercising along with an AI, could AI instructors, uh, could it be effective? Like, does it make any positive impact on your body? And how many percent of the effectiveness can be measured compared to exercise with a decent personal trainer at the gym?
Huh. I mean, that's a good question. I don't think that you could say any percent effectiveness for sure. I mean, that depends on a lot of things, like how self-motivated you are, how good or bad your personal trainer is. Um, some people just wouldn't work well with a personal trainer because they are not good at listening to other people, not good at letting themselves be told what to do. And honestly, you don't need to work out or train for that long to have a lot of benefits from training. So 30 minutes or so is definitely enough to have an effective training session. If you're a beginner, if you're a more advanced athlete, then 30 minutes is a little bit short, but there's also ways that you can supplement to train more, or you don't have to do it all in one session as well. You can split it up into multiple sessions throughout the day whenever you have time. There's a lot of solutions, but yeah, using an app like this could definitely, it's a good way to push yourself in the right direction. So yeah, I think that it could be effective for a lot of people, but if you're not very self-motivated, then maybe not.
Well, in the end, it's come back to the self-motivation and the disciplinary now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know that in order to get the best result out of exercising, there is not only just exercising alone, but it seems to be like a matrix of factors. For example, sleeping time and diet, nutrition, gear, supplements, a lot of things that will affect the result of working out. Uh, do you have any like specific advice for exercisers to get the best result out of their working out?
Yeah. So I think that the most important thing about training is that you do it regularly. It's not about having one really intense training session once in a while. It's better to have, maybe you're training 3 days a week. If you have 3 average or good training sessions, it's better than one of those being a really good training session and then 2 crappy ones. Or maybe you even skip the other training sessions because the first one made you too tired or something like that. So consistency is the most important thing. And I think that in order to be consistent, you have to pick a diet and an exercise plan that you enjoy. So, for example, if even if it doesn't matter how many studies say that doing squatting is the best exercise for building your legs or whatever, building leg strength. If you hate squatting, then you're not gonna stick with it, right? And that's just how we are as people. So you're going to be better off choosing something that you enjoy. So for example, maybe you like to play football or something instead. So I would say that playing football is more effective for the person who likes to play football and hates squatting. That being said as well, in regards to diet, you don't want to choose a diet that's preventing you from eating things that you like, right? You don't want to restrict or just cut everything out of your diet, because you're eventually just going to cave and, like have a huge binge and just undo all of the progress that you made. And in general, some sort of general advice for diet is that you can try to emphasize whole foods, high fiber, low calorie density, and less processed foods. So things that are high in protein and high volume, high fiber, but low calories. So what's some good examples of this? Like vegetables, right? Just raw vegetables like spinach or something is something Broccoli, sure. It depends how you cook it too, right? Like if you cook broccoli in a lot of butter or oil, then it's going to be a lot higher calorie than you think. So you just want to make sure that like you're eating food that you like, you're careful about how much calories you're consuming, you're making sure you're eating enough like vegetables and greens, not too much processed food. It sounds simple, but it's not that simple. It sounds rough, but it's not that hard. Just try to like the word healthy, I don't really like that word because it doesn't really, everyone has different goals, right? So yeah.
Okay, so you mean that planning out things in a scientific way. Not giving up your liking, but also minded for your personal goal. Yeah.
Sure. Not like a scientific way. Just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Do things that you like. Find out what you like, and then and yeah, it'll all fall into place eventually, right? As long as you can stay disciplined with it.
Well, discipline. Anyways, thank you very much for your insight and sharing. We are moving forward to the next part, which is answering question from the community. I have received a couple of questions that have been sent to FitMax team via the forms, and we also will pick question from comments on this live stream videos in order to answer it. So let me see.
Okay.
The first question that I received from a user, he was asking, when doing fitness, I have experienced back pain in a few days. Is there is there any solution for this? And can only sports user participate in FitMax? What about others who don't like to exercise?
Okay. So let me break this into two parts here. Experience back pain. Is there any solution for this? All right. That's something that if you're having a real problem with that, you should maybe find someone who can diagnose the problem a little bit more specifically, because in general, if you're just having back pain from working out too much or incorrectly, then the solution would be to just rest it and make sure that your next session you're not going too hard with your back. But it might be a different problem. So I would say that you should get that checked out by a doctor, or have like an in-person session with a fitness professional. Because I don't want to diagnose a problem that I don't know enough about. And can only sports users participate in FitMax? What about users who don't like exercise? Okay. I think that FitMax is more suitable for people who are beginners or intermediate. So kind of athletes are going to be already performing their sports and doing their exercise more than enough. So it could be something for them to supplement. But like I said, FitMax is even better for people who are not already athletes, because it's targeted towards people who are not working out or don't have the motivation to work out by themselves. And users who don't like to exercise. Yeah, you're gonna have to find some way to enjoy some kind of exercise. It doesn't have to be the same. It doesn't have to be working out. It doesn't have to be sports. But you got to find something, something to stay active.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for your answer. It's mean that uh, experiencing back pain, okay, maybe diagnose it with the doctors, having some professional comments on what really caused the pain. Because yeah, I understand your point that the back is related to the spine and everything, so it it could go um, worse if it's not treated the correct way. And then yeah, for people who don't really like exercise, then definitely there's gonna be something that keep you guys being active, so just need to figure it out. Okay, question number 2 from the user, and another user saying that I know the process is very important in achieving sorry okay I know the process is very important in achieving the target, but we also need proper rest as a balance for everything, especially in fitness. His question is, number one, how often do I need a rest day after workout? And point number two, how can I measure my progress? And point number three is, apart from doing my workouts, what else can I do to take care of my health?
Okay, so that's those are some very good questions, and a good point with proper rest. Some people like to say that it's not training that makes you stronger; it's resting after training that makes you stronger. So let's see. There's three questions here. How often do I need to rest after workouts? How many rest days do I need after workouts? Okay. So that totally depends on how intense your training is. And if you have a few days of extremely intense training in a row, then you might need to rest for several days after that too. Um, so for example, if you do a full body workout on one day that's extremely intense and you can feel your whole body is sore and you feel exhausted after that, then maybe you'll have to take several days, 2, 3, or even 4 days after that. But that's why we do things in training splits when we work out at the gym. Usually we do like a upper body or lower body day, or push-pull leg split. And so that way we can train for like 3 days continuously and then take one rest day, or 2 rest days, however many you need. So that's you're training one part of your body while another part is resting. So yeah, it depends on how intense your training is. If you don't do intense training, then you don't even need rest days if you feel fine the next day. How can I measure my progress? So if you're using an app like FitMax, then the app, you can track your progress by comparing yourself to how you performed on the app previously. If you're not using an app like that, then you can keep a training journal, where you need to record as much of the information as possible. For example, if you're doing just regular gym training, you can record your reps, your sets, your rest time, that sort of information. But I like to keep it simple and minimalist, because if you record too much stuff, then you're just gonna keep it too complicated and it'll be hard to follow. So yeah, keep a training journal. That's the best advice that I can offer for that. Number 3, apart from doing my workouts, what else can I do to take care of my health? Obviously, having a proper diet is one of the better ways to take care of your health. And like I said before, health is such a broad term that doesn't just talk about your physical health, but your mental health as well. And there are like loads of things that you can do for your health. Exercise can really help your mental health as well as your physical health. But aside from just exercise, proper diet, having good habits, not procrastinating with your other things too much, having good hobbies can improve your health as well, right? Creative hobbies and stuff as well.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more on the last point when you're saying that our health in general is not just physical health, but also mental health. For so many people, that the problem with your physical health come from your poor mental health. I have experienced that myself. So maybe cut off or release toxic relationship in your life. It does help to improve your health really a lot. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Great.
Question number 3 coming from a user, probably Chinese. Could I have seen the username Herv? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Her question is, hi, I am a newbie of working out. I jog every day in the morning, so I exercise regularly. However, I would like to gain muscle and lose body fat even more. Here is my question. Number 1, how many time is best for me to do workout every week? Number 2, is best to do workout before or after jogging? Number 3, I am a vegetarian but don't eat eggs. I would like to have proper diet for working out, but unfortunately, not many suggestion or information for a vegetarian or vegan, especially in Asia. Do you have any suggestion for this? Thank you for your time. Very details and interesting question.
Yeah, I can see that. Thank you for your question. That was a good question. Um, so if you're jogging every morning, that's great. If you would like to gain muscle and lose more body fat, so I would continue jogging, of course. The best exercises for gaining muscle are going to be any kind of resistance training. So that's using weights or doing some kind of calisthenics training. And in regards to gaining muscle and losing body fat, I would focus on one of them first because it's a little bit more important about your diet. And if you want to be gaining muscle, you should be in a calorie surplus, which means you're eating more calories than you need. And if you want to lose body fat, you want to be in a calorie deficit, which means that you're eating less calories than you're spending. So you can, in theory, gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, but you need to be very, very, very careful about your diet, and it's not that practical for most people. So I would focus on one at a time. If you want to work out a kind of normal training program for trying to gain muscle, would be to work out for a beginner around 3 days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, doing a full body program. Or you could do a upper lower split, whatever you have time for. But for most beginners, you're going to benefit from a full body program, I think, 3 days a week. And is it better to do workout before or after jogging? It's definitely better to work out before jogging because resistance training is the most strenuous part of your training program, and jogging is just going to tire you out, and you want to make sure that you have enough you want to be at full energy for those like hard resistance training sessions. And let's see, suggestions for meals for vegetarians without eating eggs. That is a good question. That could be very difficult. So you could, obviously the easiest suggestion would be to try and use supplements like protein powder, whey protein powder. And that's going to, I mean, in general, a high protein diet is going to be beneficial for most people because if you're trying to gain weight, if you're trying to gain muscle, you need the protein in order to build muscle, of course. And if you're trying to lose weight, protein is also the most satiating of the macronutrients. So you're going to feel full while eating less. So the easiest thing would be to suggest, whey protein supplement in your diet. What I like to eat for breakfast, for example, is oatmeal with some protein powder and just like a little bit of milk. And that meal comes out to around 300 or 400 calories with 1 scoop of protein. And it's really good for me, and it's vegetarian and doesn't have eggs. Some other stuff that you want to consider are things with beans or lentils. Um, and just, I guess, if you're trying to lose weight, then you want to make sure that any of the vegetables that you're consuming are not cooked in too much oil, because vegetables tend to just like soak up that oil a lot, and you end up eating way more calories than you expect. So, yeah. Otherwise, it can be
You mean
having a
trying
vegetarian.
to process the food by steaming or boiling rather than frying? No?
Steaming, I would say yes, but boiling, I'm not sure is such a great way, because when you boil food, it tends to leach a lot of the nutrients into the water. So unless you're drinking all of that water too, then you're kind of losing out on some of those nutrients.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much for your answer. That a lot of insights and information, useful ones. I'm done for my part with the question sent to us by the via the form. Now we will pick question uh, from this live session.
Okay. Do you want me to pick some, or oh, here we are. I see
Yeah,
you.
I have seen one from Jessie Jess. I have heard that the more you sweat, the more calorie you burn to lose weight, and you should sweat as much as possible. Is that true? Do we really need to get sweat hard to see the result out of our training? Well, I personally don't really agree with this point, but let's hear from our expert.
All right. So you're absolutely right in thinking that. The more you sweat, you do not actually burn more calories, and sweating is just a response to being too hot. So you actually might seem like you lose more weight in the short term, because your body will lose a lot of water. And so if you went and did a huge workout and you built up a huge sweat and just absolutely drenched all of your clothes, and you came back and you weighed yourself, you're going to see that you weigh maybe like half a kilogram lighter, and you're going to be like, ooh, wow, that's good, that's great. But really, all you've done is lost water.
So it is
So
dehydrated, actually. It is just
yeah,
dehydrated.
yeah, it helps you to become dehydrated, but it does not actually burn more calories. So you don't need to sweat. Sweating is not a good indication of how hard you worked. Like, just think too, if you train in a cold room and you do the exact same training session as if you train in a hot room, you're burning the same amount of calories. You're doing the same work, but one, you're just hotter, and one, you're colder. So yeah.
But these actually help to, enlighten the myth that if you want to lose weight fast, then you would just, well, I have seen a lot of people who wear raincoat and then run because they thought
Mhm.
that it would help them to sweat as much as possible and hence losing weight very quickly. But it's actually not a scientific way to do it, and it's not even a healthy way.
Yeah, it's a pretty common misconception, but maybe the reason that comes from is because, or where that comes from is in sports where you have to cut weight really drastically. People will do things like that in order to shed water weight, so they become lighter. So they'll when they weigh in for their sport, for example, like fighting, UFC, then they'll weigh in lighter, and they can make sure that they're in the right weight category. Otherwise, if they don't weigh in correctly, then they could forfeit the fight or their position in that sport.
Okay, cool. I get it. Next question from user name Alan Fast Floor. Which is advisable? Is it Which is advisable? Is it to train in groups or personally? Well, is
Okay.
it a question for introvert and extrovert sort of user?
All right, that's a good question. And that totally depends on each individual, I think. Some people will train better in a group, and some people will train better by themselves. With a group, you have the benefit of keeping each other accountable. And so, for example, you might be less likely to miss a training session. But one of the downsides might be that you can distract each other during the training session. I experience this a lot. When I train with my friends, then I end up just sitting there and talking to them for who knows how long, and I become a bit lazy during the training session. So usually I prefer to train alone. But that being said, like if you like training in a group, then train in a group. If it helps you to keep sticking to your training plan, then that's perfect. That's the best one for you.
Well, so in the end, it doesn't matter whether it is in a group or individual. It's the most important thing that we have to get out of it is the consistency and the disciplinary. No,
Yep. So
no distraction. Okay, cool.
yeah, and you might also, another good thing about training in a group is that you kind of always pushing each other to do harder, or like to go harder. So if you are not good at making sure that you're training harder than last time, then someone else might be able to do it for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Jeff, for your answer. The last one?
Sure.
Okay. Baby Lumi.
Mm-hmm.
I feel exhausted sometime after completing my workout. Is there any reason and how to avoid extreme exhausting? You mean
Extreme
extreme
exhaustion.
exhaustion? Yeah, extreme exhaustion
Mm-hmm.
after exercise because it's make me lazy the next day. Well, my
Okay.
personal opinion is that you have been training yourself too hard.
Yep, that's one thing that could be possible. There's a lot of reasons for that. So the first reason could be, as you said, you're training too hard. So if you're doing a long training session, very intense, a lot of compound exercise movements, then you might feel very exhausted. It could also be related to diet. If you're not eating a sort of nutritious enough diet, then you might not feel the energy for that. For example, if you're just eating like fast food all the time, then you might feel like low energy levels because there's just not enough nutrition in those kind of meals, which is fine just to eat like once in a while, but you need to make sure that most often you're eating a healthy enough meal, which doesn't mean necessarily like low calories. It actually, eating more calories will help you feel more energetic in general. And another reason could be a thyroid issue is another one. So if you have hyper or hypothyroidism, then you might feel really exhausted just even passively after doing like a little bit of work. So that's something that you would have to get tested for. And yeah, you would need to have like a diagnosis for that. But yeah, in general, it's probably you either training too intensely or you're not eating enough food or good quality enough food.
Okay, so the key is to eat properly in a scientific way, and then train yourself moderately and keep it consistently.
Yeah, actually, another thing too might be something that might help would be eating enough right before your training session. So having some fruit before your session or even during your training session can help you feel higher energy. Sorry about that. Yeah, so having a source of like simple carbohydrates such as fruit, or even some like bodybuilders are eating like candy during their workout. Yeah, so that's something to consider. Just having some sort of simple carbohydrates during or before the workout can help you feel less tired.
Well, okay, cool. Thank you for your insight. It's very
No
useful
worries.
one. Well, I guess that that was the last question of our AMA session today. Thank you, Jeff,
Mhm.
for your involvement and your very useful information, speaking from the expert's point of view. And thank you all, everyone in the community, for your attention and support. We are highly appreciate your involvement in um, association throughout the AMA session today. So please just keep it up and stay with us, not to miss out any big upcoming news. If you still have any question to ask, just feel free to leave it in our official channels on Telegram or Discord, and our team will come back to you. Um, Once again, thank you so much for your participant today. FitMax teams and Mr. Jeff Brewer will be back soon. I am Josephine from FitMax team, and all the best and have a beautiful day.
Thanks for coming, everyone.